Hand loaders, bullet casters, welcome back to my bench and welcome back to my little 7.62 by 3.9 cast bullet project. And so I did some range work yesterday. I also put out a video just before this one. I kind of talked a little bit about what I was doing, what I was using, and everything else. My range video was actually, unfortunately, not able to work out the way I wanted it to, but I do have some footage for you, and I'm gonna go ahead and let you see some of that. All right, I'm gonna start out with this little Wasser 10 AK variant here. Just kind of check my velocities, make sure nothing's acting crazy. Really wish I could get that screen in the shot, but I'm just not that cool and high tech yet, so you know, I'll consider this a good day if I don't shoot my chronograph or the camera that I got downrange. Yeah, that's about right. 22, 25. $22, 20, 22.83. $22.27. $22.58. Yeah, you gotta love these little 10 round magazines. I wouldn't have been able to do this with a, full 30 round mag. All right, so I know my chronograph is on point, so now it's going to be time to get my barrel warmed up on my CZ. So all I was really wanting to do right there was just verify that my chronograph is reading what I was expecting it to read with some factory ammo through a known gun, and that worked out great. I then proceeded on to fire a few rounds through the barrel just as a warm-up with some loads that I'd previously sort of lightly developed, and then I got on with the regular shooting and the testing. I was not able to get the target in the shot. My target camera actually, I found out that if the battery goes dead, then it will not save your work. So I had everything, all my hits on that camera. I still got the paper targets. I'm gonna go over some of that with you too, though. 1262. $12.88. So shooting out of the back of the pickup truck was not my best option for accuracy, folks. Now, I really wanted to set up on a proper bench and, set up at 100 yards, but what it really came down to was my opportunity for that pretty much might not happen for quite a while. So I decided what I'm basically doing is, testing a whole new area, and I need to kind of learn the terrain. So with this new powder, with loading cast and all that stuff, I really felt like if all I got was good chrono data, then that would get me a long way. And I could have something to work with if I was careful to make sure that I found out where the flat spots were. I ended my testing at, 1.19 cc's. Now I'm doing this a little bit different. I normally use a scale. It didn't quite happen this time, but so a lot of little things were working against me, but I knew that this whole CC deal would work out well. I just wanted to keep my ranges close together. What I found was once I got to 1.15, which was right about 14.7 grains, and 1.17, which is right about 15 grains, I mean, there is hardly a 2 feet per second spread here. This is a 1.4 feet per second spread. So I definitely feel like I struck a flat spot right here. Everything else, we're looking at every time I go up, 2 to 3 tenths of a grain, whichever that shakes out to be, I am seeing, 30 and 40 feet per second difference. This was very small. So I will call that a flat spot. My targets, I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into, one, my ability to shoot. I do have 2 nice little rounds side by side touching, and one up there at 12 o'clock at 1.17. This one here is a little more spread out, but again, I'm not really shooting under the best circumstances, and I really don't consider myself a rifle shooter. So, there is room for improvement for me here, folks. I think a lot of this has more to do with me and the way I was set up. But yeah, so I do have good velocity data, and that's what this shows right here. So if you're interested in knowing what components I use, what I put together, check out my first video, which is the part 1 to this. And I go into quite a bit of detail on what I used and a little bit about why I used it. So now the question is, how did things shake out as far as lead fouling? Did I have a problem? I didn't feel like I did, because I didn't really feel like my groups kind of opened up in any kind of way. I didn't see a sudden change. I saw general patterns of groups, and nothing really deviated to make me feel like, oh man, this barrel is in rough shape. I have not gone through it yet, and that's what I want to do with you right here. We're going to see if that white label lube that I use, we're going to see how well my sizing method of the bullet, which was matched to the throat, worked out. And we'll find out, just a lot by running a brush and a patch through the barrel. So here is the muzzle end of this dirty old barrel. See if we can get, a good look at the inside of that barrel. This is obviously not a bore scope, but you can definitely see where lead fouling is building up. And you might even be able to see that it is building up, probably more so right there towards the very end of the barrel. And this is kind of an indicator that perhaps my lube is starting to become less effective. I'm not totally sure that the black that you see that's following it is actually lead fouling. That's possibly, I think that is bullet lube. I think the biggest problem I'm going to have is the bullet that I'm using has a very skinny lube groove. I mean, you can barely get enough lube in that groove, and those bullets might end up getting powder coated. We'll just see what happens. So I've got my rifle, just so you know that I don't have it clamped in steel jaws. I got some pretty nice, thick, forgiving rubber jaws on there with a little bit of denim, just to prevent any little dings down there on the bottom side of the vise in case I get a little bit careless. You see that poof? That's actually what I'm seeing that just came out right there. Is mostly probably just, powder and lube deposits. Hopefully, I'm sure we're going to get some lead because we just saw. And we're going to have some lead. So far, I'm not seeing any come out. Now, I'm using basically just a standard brush. So, what I might have to do is use Chore Boy. And if I've got to use Chore Boy, then I won't be too happy. I really want this thing to clean up with just a standard cleaning method. So far, no lead deposits coming out. Might have to just check. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was just the way the light was reflecting on something. It could be there is no lead deposit. I see this little poof of a cloud is beginning to diminish. Probably gonna go ahead and throw a wet patch on there and see what happens. Alright, here comes the oil patch. It's a pretty tight patch. But man, it does feel clean. A lot of times, if you've got lead deposits, you're gonna catch it on the patch. And there are some little tiny ones. I don't know if you can see them. Just little sparkles. And run a couple of dry patches through it and I'll show you what we got. Okay, here is a dry patch, and you can see we do have a nice little chunk of lead that came out with it. I'll do a few more of these until I don't see any more, and then I'll look inside the barrel again. Okay, so I went through a lot more patches than I really intended to. I never did use the Chore Boy, so I would say that we're in pretty good shape. All right, so I don't feel like we have a serious problem with any kind of lead buildup. I guess you can still just ever so slightly see some cotton fibers there. I'm pretty sure that's what we might be looking at. So I'll say this is doable. However, we're only at the middle range of the load. You know, this was basically working like a 357 Magnum. We weren't really in those rifle velocities. So it does kind of have me a little bit concerned about what it might look like once we do start approaching 1,800, 1,900 feet per second. So after about 19 patches, I kind of feel like the patches, the cotton fibers, I mean, it was a really tight fitting patch. Actually probably did a little bit better than what I could do with a brush. So yeah, it took a lot of patches, but I feel like we took care of the lead. And I never did have to run the Chore Boy in there. But like I said, we're dealing with some pretty low velocities at the moment. All right, so this is my plan, at least as of right now. I don't think I need to work the load up any higher because all I'm going to end up doing is most likely creating a lead fouling problem that's going to be a whole lot more than a bunch of cotton patches. It is probably also going to be difficult to get good accuracy, so I don't think there's a whole lot more to be had. I do like where I was in that area that I showed you where there was just a real good flat spot. So I'm going to work inside of that, and then I am going to try to powder coat. So I gotta get out there and put some stuff in a shopping cart and watch some of you guys' videos to make sure I'm getting the right stuff. And you know what? Before you know it, there's gonna be a video called Leadsmith Makes a Mess. All right, truck manufacturers, what y'all need to do now is start building a self-leveling bed for rifle shooting. Call it the Leadsmith edition.